Yo, this is another episode of the Steven from the Old Time Podcast. Listen to my dad, he's awesome.
Welcome to a new episode of Steven from the All Time Podcast. I am your host, the Ayatollah Hip Hop, the whole damn show, the radar podcaster, a revolutionary, a visionary. Malenko, I am the voice of the voiceless. With my co-host tonight, the producer of the year, the video editor of the year, Chavo Malenko is in the building.
Chavo Guerrero.
You could say hi too, huh?
Yo, what's up?
And my other co-host.
Hey, what's up, everyone? You recognize the voice. It's the greatest there is, the greatest there was, and the greatest there ever will be. The next big thing in the podcasting world, Derek Alltime.
And please, if you haven't subscribed and liked yet, or liked and subscribed, please do so, because we bring you nothing but the best in hip-hop and wrestling all combined in one. Malenko, show me your shirt real quick. I have ever seen that shirt?
Yes, you tell me all the time the same thing.
I've never seen you wear it in person.
Yes, all the time. I wear all the time.
You look good in pink.
You tell me all the time the same thing.
Did I say that you look good in pink?
No, that you didn't tell me.
No,
Thank
you look.
I appreciate it.
Pause.
Pause.
Boys, we have a lot to discuss this evening. It's a special episode. We're releasing it on a different day because there's once again so much shit we need to review. Again. But let's get into the wrestling world first. We just passed AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. Malenko, we watched it together. Derek, I know you didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I'm sure you saw a bit of highlights or the winners and losers.
Yeah, I saw some stuff. I try to keep, even though I can't really watch AEW as much, I try to really keep up with what's going on. I like to know what's going on in the wrestling space. So I'm aware of who won. I'm aware of also the sort of stuff that's being told online in terms of like reviews and stuff like that. I tried to not dive into it too much, but I'm glad I got the both of you to break it down. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to it. Malenko, kick it off. Wembley Stadium, All In.
Another All In. Wembley Stadium was packed. It was not full because I saw some fan videos, and there was a part that wasn't full, so people jumped on it right away. Oh, it wasn't even full, so why? Whatever.
55K, right? 55,000 people.
That's what they say, and the crowd was still really into it. I thought it was a great pay-per-view. Again, I think it's really well booked. I didn't see much matches that I did not enjoy. I think, of course, for me, the highlight was the main event with Swerve versus your favorite, not Sami Zayn, but Danielson, and I just enjoyed it. I expected a good show, and that's exactly what I have.
What were your highlights besides the main event? Because we'll get into the main event in a minute.
MJF again versus Will Ospreay was a good match. I think it was really well structured. The story was really well told.
It was basically an American versus somebody from England. Basically, that's the storyline.
Their beef together and bringing Daniel Garcia into the match, which just builds up more of the story. I enjoyed pretty much everything. The only one that I didn't care as much is Jericho and Hook.
Well, the Jericho and Hook is just a weird ass storyline because Hook has no character whatsoever.
He's tough to follow. I think he really needs to develop even more. But all around, I enjoy the show. Do you have some highlights, you?
Yes, my main highlight was MJF versus Ospreay. Okay, even though I wasn't a fan of the finish, but again, we were in Wembley. Is he from England, Will Ospreay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's from England. So he's the hometown boy, right? So of course they were gonna make him win the match with he used the finisher that he banned himself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on MJF and ended up winning. Again, I
MJF
wasn't
did it too.
that people have to stop. You mentioned something that night. People have to stop being dickheads and always having an opinion on something, especially for a finishing move. Like,
It's not much that you can have an opinion. It's just I thought it's funny that in 2024, people are still taking. It's clearly a work. He doesn't injure people doing that. It's clearly a work, and people still, oh, AEW, they're not careful. Will Ospreay cannot be. He never like. Did he really injure someone with that? He never did.
never.
That it was just it's just a work, and people. I mean, good for them because they bite to it, but you really think he wouldn't do it if it was that dangerous every match?
No, he wouldn't do it.
The dude are professionals, so
It's almost the same way when they banned the pile driver, but the pile driver is a way more intense move. You could get injured so much quicker. Look at what happened with Stone Cold versus Owen Hart. Stone Cold broke his neck with the pile driver. So this move, I don't know if you've seen the move, Derek. What's it called again? It's the
I don't even know. It's
it's
something they say all the time. I forget all the time.
but anyways, at that point, it's a move that you really can't get injured if he executes the move correctly.
It's like a pedigree, but you lift the guy and you power bomb him pretty much on his neck.
Okay.
So you start as a pedigree position, you lift him up and you throw him on his neck.
But they would have banned the move.
Yeah, but does he let go of the arms?
Yeah.
Oh, so then it should be fine. You just got to make sure you get a full rotation on the move.
But guy,
we've seen it. I mean, technically, a power bomb is the exact same thing, except he lifts him from the waist, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have more leverage. Obviously, you need to do it correctly.
Mhm.
So obviously, it's the kind of stuff that they practice. You know, they're not going to have Ospreay do it to like a big Bill that's like 7 foot tall and 300 pounds. You know, they're going to have him doing to a guy he knows he could lift. Obviously, there's still a chance, but man, haters are going to fucking hate. They could shut the fuck up. Kiss my ass.
And it's funny how they believe about the work. It's all the work, and they still believe it. So whatever, I think it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same thing. But
you were happy with Ospreay beating MJF?
Of course. MJF is gonna be a whole life with that organization. He has time to win it 4 more times, 5 more times. He's probably gonna be the most titled man and AEW. So I'm not really. He knows already that he's carrying that. So he needs. If he's really that great, he needs to do stuff like that and lose sometimes. So, and Will Ospreay the same. Those guys gonna be there for a long time. So,
well,
I was actually listening to a podcast. I think it was Maven. I believe.
okay.
And can't remember. I don't want to misquote. I don't want to say who it was, but they said something along the lines of everyone thinks that your top guy is the guy who holds the belt and the guy who gets all the wins. No, your big draw is the guy fighting for the belt because people want to see him win. Right. So I think MJF is playing the smart card, and I think the WWE is doing the same as well. You're going to book the guy against the champion that you want to see him win. You're going to put the guy or that you want to see him lose. Either way, it doesn't matter. The guy that's going up against the guy that has the most fighting to do, and MJF being the biggest draw, makes absolute perfect sense for him to go as the second guy and to lose, because you're going to want to see him do it again. People are going to keep watching his matches until he wins. So to have him lose to a guy like Ospreay, there's no shame in that whatsoever. The guy's arguably the best professional wrestler alive right now. So there's no shame in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And MJF being probably the biggest heel in wrestling, and just showing up to England, Wembley, dressed all with the American flag, getting into the middle of the ring, and a big American flag just drops from the rafters. It's just brilliant how they were able to capture that.
And Wembley Stadium was still cheering for him.
Of course.
That's huge.
It's MJF. But that was probably my biggest highlight, even though MJF lost. I understand why. The Swerve Bryan Danielson main event. To me, I get why Bryan Danielson won, but I don't think they should have gone that route. Swerve Strickland should have not lost the belt, especially in a huge main event like that, especially that Bryan Danielson will be retiring soon. I get they wanted to give him the championship belt because he's never won a title in AEW. And his last title was what, 2000?
I have no idea.
2015, 2017, for something like that in WWE. So I get it. His family was there. It was a career versus title match and all this shit. But they just shouldn't have taken the belt off of Swerve Strickland because now I think he's losing momentum. Okay. Swerve Strickland is a great heel. He was the heel in that match, especially where he was able to beat up Bryan Danielson in front of his family. And at some point throughout it, we had the fans actually not cheering for him, actually booing him and cheering against him. But I just find he's going to lose all the momentum now, because what do you do with that? What do you do with Swerve Strickland now? Does he go back and face Bryan Danielson for the title? Do they continue that feud? Or does Bryan Danielson go against somebody else? But how long will Bryan Danielson stay in AEW? Is he going to stay another year? Is he going to stay a couple of months? Is he going to lose the title to somebody he actually wants to have his last match against? What are they going to do? What's the direction as to where you end off with Swerve winning? His last match is against Swerve Strickland, and Bryan Danielson just leaves and finally retires after him complaining and saying that he's going to retire for the last 2-3 years.
You're probably the only one in the world thinking that way. Dude, if they would have make him lose against him last match ever, imagine the internet. Dude, they will lose it.
But for Swerve's career, who is going to be wrestling,
they don't care about
longer,
that. I don't care. If he would have lose and his career would have ended that way, okay, dude, forget about it. Like the crowd would, Tony Khan, that would have been probably, people would have been like, that's the biggest mistake he's done. I'm telling you. There's no way.
I agree.
I totally disagree with you, Steven. Sorry for that, but I think it was the great thing that they needed to do. Now he's going to be a great transition. He's going to give you great matches. He's going to be a transition champion, and he's going to lose it probably against another Swerve again. Swerve's going to be there for years. So it just made him champion. It gave him that stature. Now he's going to be a top guy for a couple years, and he's going to come back for the championship for sure.
Who do you think Bryan Danielson is going to go up against with this title now? I have one guess.
I think he's going to continue with Swerve.
And you think he's going to lose it to Swerve and then it's done for Bryan Danielson?
If he's going to lose it against Swerve, I don't know. But, I mean, Swerve's going to be top guy for a couple years still, if he can hold it. But
there's two ways I see this happening. I see this leading up to a Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson feud, number one, and Bryan Danielson finishing off his career against Moxley, which would make absolutely no sense because Jon Moxley isn't
but
great.
Moxley is not there. Moxley's never gonna be main guy again.
I don't know. Moxley has been gone for a while.
But
so
from where story would he take on Moxley from now? From Dynamite Wednesday?
Moxley wasn't in the ring at the that's the whole point. Moxley wasn't there. The whole
he will
BCC
come back and go world champion right away.
I don't know. Or Bryan Danielson puts out a challenge to whoever wants to challenge him for the title, and Moxley comes out. Moxley hasn't been there in a while. No. He wasn't there in the ring with Yuta. and Claudio at the end, and he's part of the BCC with them. So it's a good way to start a feud or start a storyline. I don't know. I'm just saying. Or he goes up against MJF and MJF challenges him for the title.
Man, no, you don't put back MJF on top like that either.
I don't know. I just don't. So
no.
I just don't think for a storyline, Bryan Danielson is worthy of a storyline like that. I don't think he's a main eventer. That's just my opinion.
But you're.
I just don't think. I don't think he's a main eventer. He's not great with storylines. Who carried that storyline with him and Swerve? Swerve Strickland.
No, both. Both. It's not just Swerve. They can carry a storyline like that.
If it had nothing to do with Bryan Danielson and his career on the line, that storyline wouldn't have been as big.
Who make that story the career story?
It wouldn't have been as good of a.
It's Danielson,
as good.
You fuck.
If you look at Bryan Danielson and AEW,
right
you're not listening. If you've looked at Bryan Danielson's storylines in AEW since he lost against MJF in the Iron Man match at Revolution, Bryan Danielson's storylines have been the weakest in AEW. Go back and watch all of these matches. All the people that are watching this podcast, I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in. If you're AEW fan, yes. If you're AEW fans, please go look at MJF versus Bryan Danielson, okay? Revolution 2023, okay? And then tell me how great of storylines Bryan Danielson had in AEW and how his career has been since then. And then we could debate. Like right in the comments, please. But yeah, big highlight for me for the evening was when Swerve came out. His entrance song, having Bun B and West Side Gun doing the intro for him live in the stadium. And who was the DJ, Malenko?
Okay.
It was fucking great.
Okay, that was funny.
We jumped up when we saw Bun B.
When I saw Bun B, I jumped out my seat. No, I was happy.
More than West Side Gun.
Yeah, Bun B, dude, he's a legend. I'm happy for him to be there. But yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe you said all those things live. But whatever. We're gonna keep on going.
I'm the greatest podcast heel of all time.
Bryan Danielson, dude, having no storylines. Are you fucking?
Go back, Malenko. I'm challenging you to go back and see everything he's done since then.
But having all those matches.
Great matches. I'm never gonna take him away from his matches. His matches
that's the matches that he wants for his because he's ending his career, so he wants his last. You don't think that's a great storyline to finish it? And now being champion, I don't know what they're gonna do now, but I think they could do. You're gonna see. He's gonna do a great storyline with the championship. And
again,
you're gonna hate. You're gonna hate like usual.
I'm up against who? Who do you think he could have a really great storyline besides Swerve Strickland?
Everyone. The guy has been a professional for more than fucking 15 years. So
I'm not taking away anything he's done in the ring. I'm not taking any of that away. I just find the storylines aren't great storylines. And he doesn't carry those storylines.
Eddie Kingston can come back and cause ruckus. The Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson, that was bad.
The feud? It wasn't a long feud.
Oh,
it was Eddie Kingston needed to beat Bryan Danielson for Eddie Kingston to put himself over or on top.
Ugh. Whatever. Sometimes I don't know what you're looking at. I really don't.
Let's move on. Anything else from the
Ricochet?
Oh yes, Ricochet. Ricochet is back.
And Shane didn't show up.
And Shane McMahon didn't show up. Ricochet in AEW, I think, is going to excel. I think he's going to really do great. A lot of people don't believe it. I had a conversation with Trap and Cavallo, and they both don't believe that he's going to do good in AEW.
Dude, last thing. The light bulb just went into my... Dude, it's Christian that won the title shot.
Yes.
Christian versus Bryan Danielson? The biggest heel versus Danielson. That would be amazing. That's going to be amazing.
Christian's allowed to use that contract whenever he wants, though. It doesn't have to be against Bryan Danielson. It could be a good feud. Let's see. But Ricochet, Derek, you were shaking your head at Ricochet and Trappin Cavallo not thinking that he's not going to do well in AEW. I think they're mentioning that because of the fact that they think that AEW is not going to use him correctly. But I disagree. I think they're going to use Ricochet to the fullest extent of his capability and what he could do.
So I'll challenge him by saying this. Do we believe that AEW will use Ricochet worsely than the WWE is using Andrade?
Fuck.
That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, if the Lucha Bros go to WWE, I think Andrade should get maybe a manager role with those. I don't know.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. We could say all we want. Point is that right now Ricochet was disillusioned by the WWE. He also left his wife behind in WWE to go to a company that's known for putting on great matches. And if there's anything you could say with Ricochet, is the guy can put on a fucking barn burner of a match. And I think AEW has the roster to allow him to do that. It's as simple as that. I think they will use him way better than the WWE uses the outcasts from AEW right now. Other than Punk, every single AEW wrestler who's signed with WWE has really not done too much. So yeah, good for Ricochet. I hope he does well.
I think he will do well. I think he could put on some phenomenal matches in that company.
Before we move on, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to say this is a wrestling podcast, and I know we're bringing up a former WWE and WCW wrestler. But rest in peace to Psycho Sid passing away. One of the most intimidating heel to ever grace our screen. He's had quite a bit of a run, and came out a little bit of a shock to all of us, especially that he was fairly young. So rest in peace to Psycho Sid.
Yep, rest in peace to him.
He was, as a kid growing up, one of the scariest heels. Number one. Okay, next to Undertaker for me. But Psycho Sid, man, he had that face that just freaked me the fuck out. He used to come out, he would just laugh and pull that grin on his face. Okay. Remember he was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard? And then he turned on Shawn Michaels and he beat Shawn Michaels for the belt.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hated him.
He was such a character, and it's really funny because I was listening to interviews about all that kind of jazz, and Booker T saying that he probably wouldn't have had the success he had in WCW had Psycho Sid not paved the way. And for a guy who was so big, so intimidating, it was a really nasty heel. Everyone only has good things to say about him, how he protected his other wrestlers, how he was genuinely super soft in the ring. So I think that screams volume in terms of the persona of the wrestlers versus who they really are. So I think kudos to him. And I think he impacted a lot of us growing up, being such an intimidating person. But then whenever you hear that for all the intimidation he used to do in the ring, he was actually just a big softy and a really nice guy. It's always nice to hear it. So
vicious power bomb. He's also the first wrestler to ever kick out of the Hulk Hogan leg drop.
Oh, it's yeah. I didn't know
the crazy feud with Hogan. He's the reason why Ric Flair eliminated Hogan out of the Royal Rumble in 1992 for Ric Flair to win.
Okay, there you go. Jesus.
Rest in peace, Psycho Sid Vicious. So let's move on to the music half of the podcast, where me and Malenko don't usually argue.
Sometimes we do.
We do. Depends on what, though. Boys.
JPEG Mafia.
Yeah, I'm still
boy Q.
It's true. Boys, the Danielson show in Montreal that just passed this Friday. How fucking fun was that?
Fun, dude. Fun.
It was fucking enjoyable. Danielson put on a really, really great show. The sound was good. The sound was loud. Shout out to him for getting the crowd involved. I love the venue, to be honest. The venue was what? was a capacity of what, maybe 100, 100.
If we're all squeezed really, really tight, it was about
But
100. There wasn't 100 people, but the venue was really cool. It has that like the whole like punk rock underground kind of vibe going on. Really, really cool. And you could tell that the people who were hanging around that place before we got there, you could tell that they're locals and they're people who get used, because we saw a lot of the punk, the metal people. Like you could tell that this is a music place, and that's where people go for music, because everyone that was there, they were music people. They knew the music, they knew the artists that were there. Um, yeah, and shout out to Danielson for taking time with honestly all the fans that were out on the street. He took time with all of them. He took pictures. He was talking to them. He was down to his videographer bodyguard. I wasn't too sure. He took time. He was with us for like what, half an hour, 45
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
just shooting the shit, just talking.
Great dude.
They're all super appreciative of the fans turning up, and Danielson was really happy to have the turn up that he did, and he was hungry. Like and I said this to you guys whenever I was there. Like I always have a sort of fear going into concerts in which I normally see like quote unquote aggressive artists, like people with a lot of passion and people that like they're very intense in the way that they approach their albums. I'm always afraid that they're not going to approach it with as much hunger and as much passion on live shows. I was I was pleasantly surprised by Daniel. Said he was hungry on those raps. He was hungry. He was aggressive. You could tell that he went he went to work. He got busy. So shout out to him. And that was my first hip hop show in just a venue by itself, and I was thrilled. It was a really, really good show. So glad you guys invited me there.
How crazy does Bushman Bodega song sound live?
Really good.
So
And-
hard.
And Future Waves production sounds fucking incredible.
Yep. Yeah.
Through those speakers, man. Fucking great. Great show. Thanks for taking the time. Great turnout. Amazing sound. It was really a great show. Let's start off with the reviews. What the fuck are we reviewing? Malenka, what are we reviewing?
First impressions.
First impression. So for this album, we decided, you know what? This is too much for us to review right now. We need to take time, especially me. Like I catch bars from a year from now. I'm still catching bars from the last albums he put out. So here we go. We have Ka coming up with his 10th album. 10 consistent album throughout the years. The title is The Thief Next to Jesus, and is probably one of the best covers and title combo I've seen all year. If you would just show me this without knowing who the artist is, I would think this is probably a really heavy metal group from
Fuck, I don't know.
from Poland or something like that, or
Ireland,
Ireland,
the depths of hell.
like a Norwegian band, but amazing. Again, that is so dense, and for people that don't know Ka, he's a Brownsville artist that really is one of a kind. Really is one of a kind. When he came out, he had everybody wondering who this guy is. Super monotone. You won't get no ounce of melodic sound with him. And it's just bar for bar, probably the best wordplay that you ever heard. And for a small little French Canadian guy like me, it takes me a couple of listens to understand everything. So that's why it's just a first impression. And the album is on his website, and I please guys, go and buy the album. If you know Ka, you're not gonna be disappointed. I think for someone who never listened to Ka, this is a good album to start.
Oh, for sure.
He is really abstract. He's really experimental. Usually his beats are really skeleton, and this one you get more bones. You get more um
Body parts.
you get more meat around the bone, right?
Pause.
It's more
Fuck.
Pause. Hard pause.
Pause. So
but yeah. Yeah, I love this. I enjoyed this. I'm gonna listen to it a lot.
We were supposed to review it, and I just said I can't. I'm not really in the mindset right now. This is an album that you go in, you give it a listen. And midway through your listen, you're just like, fuck, I need to restart it. And then you restart it once again. You get through it, and you're like, okay, fuck, there's too much. There's too much to handle. There's like, you really need to be able to sit with this album for a good couple of months. And I'm not over exaggerating. Like, for all the people that listen to this Ka album or listen to Ka as an artist and say, yeah, I've listened to it the first 5 times. Yeah, I caught everything. You are fucking out of your mind. It like, I've been listening to this since maybe the day after it came out, because it didn't come out on a Friday. It came out, I think it was a Monday, Tuesday. Anyways, one of those days, and I really waited, because when you want to intake a Ka album and to fully digest what he is trying to do, okay, takes a really long time. It takes all your attention. A Ka album is not the type of album that you're putting on when you're vacuuming the house. A Ka album is not an album that you put on when you need to go somewhere and you have a time frame to get to that place. A Ka album is an album that you need to sit down on your couch, okay, and just put on your headphones and not have a worry in the world, not need to be somewhere in the next couple of hours, okay? Not, you don't need to be preparing a meal. You can't do anything when you listen to a Ka album.
Mhm.
It's almost impossible for you to really visualize and understand everything he's trying to paint for you, okay? Just with the album cover, you said, like, that's a sketch of Jesus on the cross with fucking a million nails around it. Right there. Right there, you're like, fuck. Okay, what is he gonna try and give me? But Ka gives you so much into one album. Positivity is one of the main factors. He starts off the album. Malenko, please explain when he starts off the album. There's the 4 sins.
Yes. So um he breaks it down in 4 verses, and every verse is not a sin, but it's how can I say it? I don't know, because he talks about the bread, body, water, and wine, right? That's the
Mhm.
name of the song. But the 4 different verses are split in all those sins that men have. So
Yeah,
money, violence, sex work, and drugs. So I mean, just let alone that, you get a nice intro and you know how deep it can get. So again, I think, and it's a beat that has a lot of percussion, and usually Ka stays really low with the percussion. You don't get much drums on this, so already it was a really nice surprise for me.
yeah, and just the first track is just in itself. You need 20 minutes to just explain what he's trying to do in that album and that song. It's just so much to intake, so much to digest, that it's going to take me, no joke, another couple of months before I'm able to really sit down and explain it to the people on this. But you made a good point, Malenko, and I'm going to get to you, Derek, in a second. You made a good point regarding just uh, giving this album to somebody who's never heard Ka.
Mhm.
And I think it's the musicality behind it that really could get somebody more into it. But again, it's very skeleton. There's not much going on
Yeah.
with the beats. But yeah, there's other Ka albums that you can't give somebody on the first time. But he is one of the most important lyricists of the last 10 years and going forward as well. And when you get a Ka album, you don't always get a Ka album. Takes a while before you get a Ka album, but when you get a fucking Ka album, you get a Ka album for 2-3 years. It's a 2-3 year album process.
Yeah, of course. I think if I would give an album, like another album would be Honor Killed the Samurai.
Fuck.
And maybe the toughest listen you can go is like Descendant of Cain or A Martyr's Reward. That's really experimental.
Even the last two he put out before this one, that was fucking difficult to not
Heavy.
difficult to get into, but it was difficult material to digest on there. Derek, your first thoughts? You basically laid it out perfectly before.
Yeah, just I think it's just super philosophical. I think if you give this album or any Ka albums to someone who wants to know what's going on in the hip hop world, you're either going to drag him in or you're going to push him out. I think the best way to introduce a Ka album is to say, hey, do you enjoy poetry? Do you enjoy artistry? Do you enjoy just lyricism at a level that you've almost never heard? And that's what you give someone. This is the kind of album that you listen to it, it's going to make you reflect, and you got to be in that state of mind to be able to reflect and digest everything he's telling you. And you also have to be humble enough to understand that you're not going to catch everything. If you think you're going into this having heard other lyricists and thinking like, oh, I've heard other rap lyricists, then you don't know what you're about to get into with this. It's dense, it's heavy. It also comes from a place, his delivery in it is anything short of masterful and honest. This, when you listen to something like this, it's going to make you reflect, and you're going to be done with this album and you're going to be tired. You're going to be tired. You're going to be drained. You're going to be drained, and but in a way, you're going to be looking forward to listening to it again and again and again and again, because he takes you on this journey, on this quest, and it's ever changing after every listen. And it's not for everyone, that's for sure. And it's not for everyone every day in every state of mind. Understand that this album took work. He takes pride in his work, and he works really hard, and he wants his fans and the people who listen to his albums to put in as much work as he put in from a writing perspective to a listening perspective. Don't listen to this thinking that like you're just going to put this on, to Steven's point, and you're just going to do something else. This will take all your energy, all your heart and soul to get through, but the reward once you do get through it's insane.
It's insane. And like a great point that you said, he's such a deep, like when I listened to this album first, I was like, okay, if I can compare this to like a writer or something, like mainstream rap is like a kid's book, right? Then your underground, you get more like Patricia Conwell type of, like it's deeper, is more, and then you get Ka, that's like a Hemingway. Is straight up like a Hemingway. Yeah. He's complicated. He doesn't use a lot of words, but he's really like he doesn't use a lot of words to say a lot. Okay. And I gotta say, Such Devotion is probably one of my favorite songs of the year, and Beautiful, probably one of my favorite song of the year. And I never heard Ka rap on a sample, using a sample.
Oh, like on Beautiful?
Yeah, like
fucking
brilliant. I don't know how to using the sample as a rhyming, like the Dipset type of like I never heard them do that. So that's something. And like True Holy Water, that's the last song, dude. That beat gave me chills. I couldn't believe he was rapping like that's. Listen, like to a black metal type of, like that's bosom for rap for me, I think. So whatever. That's again out of this world artist, really.
This is the type of artist. These are the type of albums that he makes where you could go watch him in a small club, okay, and people are just sitting down. Ka is not the type of music that you sing along to. You don't sing along to Ka music. You fucking
You know, you the lyrics, man. When he says like a lot of, I'm just paraphrasing here because I don't remember when he says a lot of my friends didn't make it through the night,
yep.
so I did a lot of mourning, and just stuff like that is like, well, damn, nobody thought about that before. How? There's so many rappers and nobody thought about that before. How? Like so many lines like that it just blows my mind.
He's like Beethoven with classical music.
Yeah, he is. He really is. It's precise.
And the reason why no one thinks about these kinds of things is once again, it's the introspection that he has within himself to understand where he's coming from, to understand the message he wants to put out for the people of, like, it's been hard, and making these albums are, in all fairness, I don't think him making albums, I don't think it's easy for him.
No.
Listening to the lyrics and seeing the message, I think those albums are hard for him to make. You can't get that personal and that deep on your lyricism unless it's hard and unless it comes from a real place of trauma. And I think there's a certain beauty to lyricism, and sometimes you're just like, this bar is so obvious. How did no one think about it? It's because maybe no one has ever taken the time to deal with that trauma, to try to explain that trauma. So yeah, just once again, it's just unreal.
Borrowed time. When he said, I hope when time comes for me, I hope it's borrowed time. That too, I was like, dude, how can nobody thought about that? That's such a genius line. But whatever, that's him all the time. So
overwhelming but brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to this throughout the year. I'm probably gonna give it a score at the end of the year, maybe next year. I might be doing next year. So you need.
I'm calling it. It's gonna be on the lists at the end of the year.
It's
I think so too.
It's crazy how I'm still listening to Descendants of Cain. I'm still listening to all those albums like it's the first time I heard it.
Yeah, I'm still catching on stuff. That's why I'm telling you, I can't score it.
And you know what? These are the type of albums that I don't want to know everything by heart. I don't want to know every lyric or every punchline or everything he does. I feel like going back into these things and just rediscovering it, or just being like, okay, wow, this is so new and fresh.
Yeah. The only thing that is a bit of a problem for me.
So negative.
You can't listen to her in the car because of the mixing. Like first of all, if you listen to this in the car, don't crash. Okay, so I'm sorry. So about he hurt you, but don't crash. But it's mostly like the mixing is really tough. His voice is buried. I think he does it on purpose. I'm gonna buy it, so maybe the audio file is gonna be better. But yeah, that's all.
What's the no score for me yet.
End of the year.
Yep. What's the next album on the list?
Jae Skeese.
Ground Level.
Yeah, mixtape. That's the next one. I'll take this one off just because it's being the new guy on this podcast. I think this album was interesting, and I think it sort of links into a lot of stuff that I probably grew up listening to hip hop on, just because that album is so, I'm calling it an album, the mixtape, whatever.
It's an album. I think
it's an album. I think this is an album. Anyways, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So from the Jae Skeese perspective, it's a very different sort of album than the last one he made. I feel like the album's a little bit all over the place. To be perfectly honest, and the best way that I can describe this album is if you took and spliced 3 different albums together and you just made one, that's what it came off as. You have very new type, very modern, very basic kind of beats. And then you have a lot of the old school hip hop, what we know Jae Skeese could do kind of beats. And then you have the very soulful, jazzy kind of more kind of like artistic beats.
100%.
All that in one album means that for me anyway, I couldn't really catch a vibe for what he was trying to do on the album, which is why calling it an album feels kind of weird. If I call it a mixtape, I kind of feel better because there's the inconsistency of the album makes sense in a mixtape setting, but doesn't make sense in an album setting. Now, with that being said, doesn't mean that that album didn't have its highs. It certainly did, but it also did have its lows. I personally think the features on the album were actually really, really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed them anyway. I think that every feature brought a little something different to the song. And I think a lot of these artists, other than Big Crit, I had never really heard of the other artists on those tracks. And I think they really shined. I think they were really, really good. And I think whenever Jae Skeese was in his pocket, in terms of what Jae Skeese does, which is just not the slick talk, but his more introspective kind of thing, I think it was really good. I think that part was really good. I didn't really need him to do any big boy talk, but he did. So I think for me, it came off as a little bit, I don't want to say it came off as a little bit shallow, but to a certain extent it did. It came off as him trying to cater to a specific type of demographic that he might be trying to tap into and get into. Even there's a few songs he took out a video for, and those videos I feel are catering to a more mass public kind of thing going on. And I mean, kudos to him. Listen, that's what he wants to do. Kudos to him. I looked at the views for that album and the views on the videos, and he's getting views. He's getting listens. So if that's what you're trying to do and you're trying to cater to a more mass market kind of thing and get your name out there, then this is a good way to do it. I think it's a good way to do it. Ultimately, the album for me came a little flat. I don't want to say I wasn't disappointed by it, but I wasn't necessarily wowed by it. I was just like, yeah, it's a hip hop album. Personally, listening to it from top to bottom or scattering songs here and there, there's no difference. It comes out to the same thing. I think you had some good bangers and you had some good songs, and then the lowest ones were low. But yeah, it's average at best. I'm sorry to say that because it's an artist that I really appreciate. I really like. I just don't think that was his best effort. But yeah, it is what it is.
I totally agree. I gotta say this right away. I totally agree with this point, Derek. I think it was all over the place. Getting some trill beats, you get more of a Atlanta sound in some songs. You go down, and sometimes there's some beats that are really 2000-esque. So that some hooks I didn't really appreciate. If I think about I think it's Wick Coupons that had that really mellow, dramatic singing. It wasn't too much for me. I didn't like that hook. But the highs, I gotta say, situated with Big Grit and Sauce Walker. I was so happy to hear Sauce Walker, and they destroyed it.
I didn't know who that was. And I was like, God. This guy is
Derek.
This guy's good. Yeah. This guy's really
I'm going to say this about Sauce Walker. Put Sauce Walker with any lyricist, any wordsmith, and he'll come out on top. It's crazy.
Sauce Walker is the truth. Is the truth, bro.
Really good.
He's the truth, bro. He got some. For me, he's really up and down with this project. Sometimes I like him, sometimes. But I mean, Street Gospels 3, I still listen to it. To this day, I love Sauce Walker. So.
I need that Derringer Sauce Walker album to come out because that's gonna be something fucking crazy.
Yeah. So the high is like the last song, "Fruit of the Labor" with Project Pat, Hilton Beat. I love that. That's a banger.
That's great.
That's a banger. Akim 4, I really enjoyed the wordplay. So that's his how do you call it, the sneakerhead song. So it's his fourth. I love him. I don't know nothing about what he mentions. I recognize some shoes here and there, but I appreciate the wordplay and how he does it. It's really good. And Brick After Brick, I love the intro. The you know what made me think when I listened to this album a couple of times? I said, if Jae Skeese was a wrestler, it would be a babyface. This is such a babyface type of fucking album. It's a really babyface type of album.
Yeah, you make a great point. I think Sarah Lee.
Yes.
If that's not a girlfriend hip hop song, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
It's just him about like treating women right and, being nice and saying, hey, girl, like you stick with me, like I'll make your life better. Like it's this slick kind of girlfriend talk. And I think that no guy's going to want to listen to that. It's a little bit of Russ-ish kind of vibes to a certain extent. And I think to Milenko's point, I think another standout for me was Ohana Means Family. I think that song, the lyricism was really, really good. It was him being vulnerable, but it was him really writing really well. But to Milenko's point, Fruits of the Labor is just, that was absolutely insane. And I didn't know who Sauce Walker was, by the way. You guys should have told me about this guy way before, because that guy is...
He's so street, Derek. He's the streetest dude you ever seen. But damn, when he raps, he comes to it. Like, he has those genius like street bars. Like, it's so street that it's true. That's the type of rapper he is. Superior got a great beat on this, on Yell Cup Champs. Oof.
Yep.
I love that beat. Chez Noir when added. Chez Noir is another artist that she's top lyricist. Smoke Dizza killed it as well. I mean, pretty much all the rappers that had the verses in were really well placed. Even Dave East, I like.
I don't like Dave East.
I usually don't rock with Dave East that much, but he was good on this.
Dave East, when he comes on a song, it's Dave East because he has the same flow over and over and over again. And I've been waiting for it. Like, I gotta say this now because you brought it up. I wasn't gonna say anything. Dave East needs to stop rapping the same way throughout all his songs. It's not good. He's got to stop. When he put out that first mixtape or that second mixtape where he had the Styles P on there, he had Pusha T, he had fucking Jada Kiss on there. That was Dave East. That was Dave East, hungry rapper Dave East, lyricist Dave East. I'm coming at you, Dave East. And then after that, he put out that album with Styles P, that duo album with Styles P, which was really good. And then after that, it's just like everything sounds the same. He's catering to that commercialized, which is fine. Okay, but he's making songs that don't really fit him. But that's my issue with Dave East. My thoughts on the album, to your guys' point, it was stale. I found that it was all over the place. Okay, to your point, Derek, it sounds like a mixtape. It's just a bunch of songs thrown, and I find that Jae Skeese works best when he's with one producer. There was no cohesiveness to this. There was the standout tracks. It's the same tracks you guys mentioned. Again, the produced song by Superior. That song doesn't fit in this level of style of album. It sticks out too much. You know what I mean? And he works so much better when he's with that one producer. The album he did with Superior this year. The album he did with Big Ghost. Okay, though that's where he's able to really tap in and be in that pocket you mentioned, Derek. He's in those pockets when he's working with those same producers. And I get this album, it's kind of catering to a different crowd, a different style of hip-hop, and I don't knock him for trying to do that, but I don't find it fits him well. But the trap beats, that trill sound that he was going for with the Sauce Walker, the Big Crit, the Project Pat, I enjoyed that. He raps well on that type of.
Yeah, shout out to Mitch Arizona on the beat, on the production.
So like it fits him well. But again, I just find that you get lost throughout listening to the album. You're like, okay, which direction is he trying to go? And okay, this song doesn't fit here. It's not structured where it should be structured. And that's just me being me. But I don't want to hear this style of music from Jae Skeese. With all due respect, the guy puts out really good projects. He put out some of my favorite projects the last couple of years. But this doesn't really have that element that I'm looking for when I want to listen to Jae Skeese. But kudos to him for trying something different.
I think he wanted to have fun with this.
Yeah, and he's still lyrical on here. He still has those really great bars and those really great references, the sneaker references that he always uses. Yeah. That's his go-to thing, right?
Yeah. He got probably one of his most listened songs on Spotify is Situated. So, no, I think there's some songs that for sure gonna stick with me. So. Yeah.
One thing before we get on to the next one, there's one thing about lyricists like Jae Skeese is that when the production isn't so powerful, okay? And when I mean powerful is some of the beats on here I find are a bit too, I wouldn't say loud, but kind of like the beat sticks out to where like when he worked with a superior or he worked with a big ghost, the beats fit him more. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Well, like he shines more on that style. Like when it doesn't overpower him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because he was trying to do something so different that that's the sound I got in my head or in my headphones when I was trying to listen to it. But like he shines that so much when he rides the beat versus the beat just that the beat's there and Jae Skeese is just using the beat. You get what I mean? He's not being produced. He has a beat. You get what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah. Are we doing scores on this one?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'll go a 6 out of 10.
Derek.
Yeah. I'll go 6.5 on 10 just because there's some songs that for sure are going to hit replay value for me. So yeah, for that reason, 6.5.
Let's move on to the main event.
And you, what you rated?
Oh fuck! I have to rate it, huh? 6.
Yeah. 6. Okay.
Yeah, 6. Because I still like him as a lyricist, and there is the standout tracks on here.
Yep.
Let's go to the main event of the evening. Welcome to a new episode of the Mickey Diamond podcast. I'm gonna tell it to you guys like this, okay? Jay-Z has the blueprint.
Oh my god.
Raekwon has It's Only Built for Cuban Links. Rock Marciano has Reloaded. Benny the Butcher has Time to Talk 3. West Side Gun has Supreme Blind Tell. And Mickey Diamond has It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Wow.
Okay? I like both of your faces. Okay? And I'm super happy we did not get a chance to speak at this on the phone, by text, in person, because I cut you guys off every time you tried. Okay? what I just said, I mean. Okay? When Mickey drops an album, we sit back, we listen, we dissect, we go through the tracks. This being at 15 songs with an intro and outro and some skits at 53 minutes. This being Mickey Diamond's second album this year. Okay. And I am super happy because Mickey Diamond flooded. Okay. He flooded 2023. But Mickey Diamond in 2024 is putting us all in Boston Crabs. And he's not letting go. Okay? Man. Look, I'm gonna say it this way. This is the style. This is the Mickey Diamond I want to hear. The soulful beats. Okay? Where
bangers
he's
too.
With the bangers, the opening track, Tequila Sunrise. There's the intro at the beginning where we're getting the conversation regarding alcoholism, being addicted to alcohol. Then the small skit regarding the woman saying, "Why are they telling us I can't drink when they're always smoking weed, or he's always smoking weed?" I love that. It was a great way to start off the album. It gives you the kind of a certain direction that he might go in, but it doesn't really go into that direction because it's a lot more of a personal type of album too. But starting off with that Big Ghost production on Tequila Sunrise kicks off the album with a fucking bang. And then it's amazing how that's probably I would say the hardest song on the album, because everything that comes after that is just pure perfection of soul, lyricism, cadence, his flow. Okay, when we talk about somebody being able to write a beat, okay, in that fashion throughout a full project of 15 songs, to me is amazing. This is why I put this album in a conversation of best work, because this is Mickey Diamond's best work. Is
Wow.
it my favorite Mickey Diamond album? No, not yet. It's not my favorite Mickey Diamond album yet. Could it be my favorite Mickey Diamond album? Yeah, it could be. But the way the project is put together and how each song consistently flows into one another, he does that a lot with all his projects. Don't get me wrong. But he's using different producers throughout this whole project. Snotty produces on this. We got Mallory Knox on this. We got SB11 on this, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. There's so many different producers, but it feels like I'm getting a project by one producer. And for Mickey Diamond coming out with Super Shredder earlier in the year and taking that much time to put out this, it means something. It means that a lot of work went into this, a lot of thought process went into this, and he wanted to give us a different sounding project and one of his best sounding projects. Like, this doesn't sound like a big Ghost project. It doesn't sound like the stuff he's done with Mallory Knox. It doesn't sound the stuff that he's done with Camouflage Monk or Sadhu Gold or Machacha or any of that stuff. He's giving us so much musicality too with that album. Man, the soul samples on here, just the samples itself on here, it just paints us a picture. And who could rhyme this well on this? And it's Mickey Diamond. Like, sometimes like we've spoken about when Mickey Diamond on Nobody Bleeds Like Flair, right? We've spoken about the sound on it, where there's his voice isn't as clear as we wanted it to be. Not saying the project is not great, because we love that project. It's in the top of the last year's album, but it's kind of like the soul samples weren't as crisp as we wanted them. There's always that we wanted more. This is it. I'm sorry. This is it. Drunken Master with the keys. The Drunken Master track.
Yeah. I love it.
Like, I'm gonna give you more in a sec. The Hangover, produced by Mallory Knox, with the fucking sample, the same sample that the Game used on the LAX album. Fuck, I was in the car. I wanted to call you. I'm like, I even text you. I'm like, what's that sample? What album does that come from?
I saw it late, and I wanted to tell you about it. I saw it late, that text. Yeah.
Man, 99 Bananas, Scotch Castle, and there's only one featuring on here. Big Trip, who does phenomenal on it. Don Julio, man. When Jay-Z put out the Blueprint, it's kind of like the first time we heard Jay-Z on those soul samples, that jazzy sample to that extent, right? Production by Kanye West and Just Blaze and all that stuff. I find the mindset that Mickey Diamond probably went into this album was listening to a lot of that soul music and be able to choose what he wanted to hear. It's almost like getting, like, Derek, you said this best last time for a different album, having a glass of scotch and just listening to a vinyl.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I think you really catered the sound with the specific producers in terms of, listen, this is going to be a more personal album than I've done. I'll probably be a little bit more vulnerable. I'll be more exposed in terms of possibly past struggles that I've had. So he probably wanted something that hit home too much. And if the beat goes too hard, it sort of takes away from the message he's trying to convey and the lyricism he's trying to convey. I mean, all the name of the songs on here all have to do with dependence of some sort. And I think he still has bars. There's still a lot of bars in there, and the lyricism is really good, but it's still him being just a little bit more vulnerable than we're used to seeing Mickey Diamond. And I think that soulful production, I think, really caters to that. And on a lot of these, as I write down my notes, I write down the song, and then I sort of write down my notes, like my first impressions of the song, and then I go into details. And a lot of this is great soul beat, introspective bars. Like him being personal on certain things. There's some songs that obviously were just less my type. I think for me, I think Taxi Cab Confessions fell a little flat for me personally. I did find the production on that one really overshadow his rapping ability. I felt like the production was louder than his voice, which sort of took me out of it. But 99 Bananas, I think, great beat. It was him being introspective. I think Lose Control was really good. Drunken Masters, phenomenal track. Tequila Sunrise is a Backstreet Lance Bass line in there that I absolutely really like. You used to be Backstreet, now you're just Lance Bass. I absolutely loved it. So he's still Mickey Diamond. He's still good with the pen. He still hits you with the little jabs and stuff like that. But compared to the other stuff he did, it's definitely him being just a little bit more personal in terms of the struggles and so on and so forth. The skits in there are really good. But to Steven's point, yeah, he tailored those beats to the message he wanted to portray and the feeling he wanted the album to have. And I think that's what good artists do. If you're a bad artist, you're sort of just, and it's to a certain extent, and it's relevant because we just spoke about it. It's the complete opposite of what Jae Skeese did. Jae Skeese got beats and rapped on beats. Mickey Diamond says, make a beat. This is what I'm trying to do. Let's see what you could do. Make me a beat for what I'm trying to do for this project here. And they delivered. It's very different. It's very different whenever you ask someone to do something for you and you do something for someone. The energy, the feeling, the emotion behind it is just not the same. So I think that's what he did here. And
he produced on it too. He produced a couple of the tracks on here too, which is great because he wanted a specific sound for this. He wanted to be able to give you something different also. And the guy has 22 albums, 23 albums. Please, I hope I got the number right. He has a lot of projects in the last 4 or 5 years. But to be able to put this one out this way and for it to be, look, the cover art is fucking fantastic. Please, I like this cover art. Could somebody just make me a poster for my room with this cover art?
I think that's his best cover art.
I might get this tattooed on my neck. Okay. It's great. And to bring it back to the production, it's so crispy clear. Like it gives him the landscape, okay, which is one of my favorite words to use when an album sounds so great. It gives him that landscape for him to shine as a lyricist. And maybe we don't get as much punchlines as we've gotten in his previous albums, but he's able to give us the lyrical Mickey Diamond. We're able to get the whole package. Pause. We're able to get everything, and it shows he's one of the best. I'm sorry, but he's one of the best, if not the best, and it proves it on this album. Pink Shirt Malenko, take it away.
I mean, there's not much to say. You guys, I think, covered it all. I think the same is one thing I could say is I said it on my last review was just a big ass rant. I think for his caliber of rhyming, I don't doubt it. A sequencing, the way he sequences his albums and how he picks beats and sequence it is really something that is difficult to is something that's difficult to do for an album. I can't imagine someone, they probably do so many songs and then you have to pick the best ones and sequence it. I think this was, again, the sequencing of this album goes track by track. I think is near perfect. I like the little sound bites, skits that he put here and there. I don't know who AP the Overlord is, but that guy's cooked. He's done. I don't know who he is. I trying to find him. He has a little Instagram account. That guy is nothing. I heard him rap 2 or 3 songs. Horrendous.
Apparently, just disses.
You're cooked.
He just disses people. Like he just has a look.
I have no idea. The guy was offering $500 for anyone to battle him. $500. Fuck.
You could probably battle him and beat him.
I can probably. And he uses the Wu-Tang logo, whatever. He uses the Wu-Tang logo with his name like he's on 4th grade. I'm sorry, dude, but I used to do that shit in 4th grade with the M and the K of Master Killer. I use it for my initials. So okay. So
Really?
fuck, I used to do that shit in 6th grade, bro. Yeah, so
Be
shit.
careful. He might start dissing you now. Huh? I heard that's what he does. I don't know what the fuck this guy is.
Is Mickey
I
gonna
know.
use this soundbite and put it on his next? He can maybe use one of these. But yeah, he's cooked. The Alcoholics is my favorite song. After that,
Really?
this actually, yeah. Oh, dude, I love those soul sample. His voice on it. He just rhymes good on it. What else can I don't know what Breakfast of Champions. Everything that's like those quirky hip hop elevator beats always been my favorite and always gonna be my favorite songs. And of Champions is one of those. So again, I don't know, best cover of his, love it. Another great work from the guy. Oh, do you wanna guess how much Food Sick gave it?
Food sick. You have a beef with food sick, huh?
I can't wait. One day I think I'm gonna go. I thought, you know what? I'm 30-year-old. I don't need no beef on the Instagram, but every day I look at him and I kind of want to just go in the comments and battle him.
By the way, you have a beef with APD Overlord now because you dissed him like that. So there's gonna be a beef coming.
Fuck it. He said everywhere in America, 500 where I go there. Get the fuck out. Mickey Diamond, Foodsick gave it a 2.33 out of 5, 0% fire. That means 2.33 means is between awful and mostly garbage.
And food sick could eat a big fat dick. Gap teeth in his mouth so a dick's got to fit. Pause. That is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard in my goddamn life. This is a guy here. You want to start beefing with someone here? This is a type of guy that probably puts out an album, skims through it, and then puts out the fucking review in half an hour. You know what? I see him posting. Okay, the album comes out at midnight. And by 8 a.m., there's already a fucking review. How could you listen to an album and fucking review it and give it a score after listening to it one time? It's fucking stupid.
Whose grading system? Whose grading system has a position between awful and mostly garbage?
Yeah, you can see it, but yeah.
Mostly garbage? There's no such thing as mostly garbage. It's garbage or it's not garbage.
There's people that don't listen to music correctly, and there's people that post things, and it blows my mind how somebody who has a hip hop page and reviews hip hop albums is able to fucking put out a review on an album after listening to it half of once. I'm done.
It's from me coming from a rock and a metal perspective. There's people who listen to metal and all they listen to in metal is Lamb of God. There's nothing else. It's Lamb of God, it's Cannibal Corpse, that's all that exists. And then you tell them, hey, have you heard the new Tool album? And then they're like, oh, this thing's shit. This thing's shit. It's not the same thing. The problem is that if you're so used to reviewing a certain type of hip hop and you always seem to gravitate towards a certain kind of thing, and Mickey Diamond, in all fairness, this is a very different project from Mickey Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
If you're used to what Mickey Diamond has been putting out for the last few years, the last few months, and then you get into this one thinking that it's going to be a continuation of what he did, yeah, it might rub you off the wrong way at first, but you got to be objective and be like, you know what? First listen, not really vibing. Maybe I'm just not approaching this from the right angle. Mm-hmm. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt of like Steven said, if the album came out on midnight and he reviewed it at 6 o'clock in the morning and he listened to it once, like obviously your vision might not be the greatest. Give it time. If you don't like something, don't just shit on it and say it's mostly garbage. Okay, it might be awful to you right now. Take a break, take a pause, reset, listen to it 2, 3, 4 times, and your opinion's probably going to change. And it does no service to the artist whatsoever for them to be so harsh and to rush to conclusions on album reviews. Like especially for such a different album like that, and for a guy who has a platform, I don't know what his followers are, but for a guy who has a platform like that, whatever followers he has, those who respect him and those who listen to him, now they're not going to give this album a chance, and that's not good, because if for a guy like Steven, who's been doing this for a long time and listening to hip hop for a long time, for him to say that this is like the work, this is the album, like the lifetime sum of work, this is the one that's going to stand out. Mm-hmm. It's not fair that that's the opinion of someone and then other people are not going to listen to that opinion and just listen to the other guy, so I feel like it's unfair, and I feel it's easy to rush to harsh criticism.
Why is it a 2? Why is it a 2.1, 2.5? Why is there no fire?
He just didn't. I want to know. He just didn't get it.
No, but I want to know. Explain to me. Don't give me a rating, because I want to know why you're giving it that rating. A bit of like what we do. But anyways, at the end of the day, this album by Mickey Diamond, I don't want to give too much fucking time on this fucking platform to people like that. I want to give time to the fucking artists like Mickey Diamond that put out quality fucking music, that I could fucking sit down and go through every single song and I could fucking tell you why this song is good and give you a reasoning behind it. Okay. At the end of the day, this Mickey Diamond project is that project. If somebody's coming up to me and say, Steven, I want to get into Mickey Diamond, what can I listen to? I am giving them this album. Right off the bat. I'm giving them this album. Malenko, can we give a proper rating?
Yes.
I want the microphone to come down like Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, he's been Mr. Kennedy. For me, my score, again, I'll give this one a 8.5 out of 10. 8.5.
Derek, with your Brock Lesnar t-shirt, go.
I don't think I could give a score for this one, for the simple reason that my first listen of this album was yesterday. I listened to it a second time today. I feel like I need more time, but if I were to go and rush to conclusions, I would say that right now for me it's an 8. But like I said, it's only my second listen. I feel like I just need a little bit more time. I just need to get old Mickey Diamond out of my head completely in terms of this new Mickey Diamond. But so far, right now, if I were to rate it, would be an 8.
I am going to give it a with 900 fire emojis.
So what's a 9, Steven? It's between an 8 and a 10. What's your word rating on it?
Flamethrowers?
It would be a 5 for him is a masterpiece. A 4.75 is near masterpiece. And a 4.50 instant classic. Well, there you go. And he doesn't explain why he gives those ratings.
Of course he does.
Ratings, a picture of the album and the rating.
Shout out to the producers on here. I'm going to read the producers. Some producers I've never heard of. By the way, Snotty produced on that. I know I mentioned that at the beginning on 99 Bananas. We have Influence Prod. We have BEX, Profound 79, 88 Blessed, who we know, SB11. I mentioned Mallory Knox, Drill Kid Production, Mickey Diamond himself, and Raul Duke.
Who produced Scotch Castle?
Featuring Big Trip, was produced by 88 Blessed.
What a song. Great beat. One of my favorite beats.
The Hangover, though, Mallory Knox with that fucking...
those are my favorite, like 7 8, 9, 10 till till pretty much sober
11.
I love those. Yeah.
12. Some of best his best flow and lyricism is on Liquor Store Liaison. Just the way he flows on that, it's just a continuous flow. And like I said, it's not the usual Mickey Diamond we're used to with the punchlines consistently giving us those punchlines. It's more of the storyteller, more of the introspective Mickey Diamond that we're getting. And I fucking love it. You know what we're going to do next episode? Is we're going to do a top 5 Mickey Diamond projects.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
I already know my top 3.
Jesus.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere by Mickey Diamond. Boys, before we get up out of here, anything else you want to add? Did we miss anything? Did we forget anything?
No, there was a lot of releases. 38 Special go with the
Thank you.
Mother and Gun, Planet Asia with 38 Special.
Trust the Chain 2.
Trust the Chain 2. What else did I miss? What's the album?
There's a lot.
The album that I sent you.
You sent me a lot of things in one day.
The Alligator Alley.
Yes, by Shadi. That came out a long time ago. I listened to it when it first came out. I enjoyed it. What else came out?
That a long time ago, July. But that was a great beat, great album.
By the way, Travis Scott released what's it called? Days Before Rodeo. It's the 10-year anniversary, so it's finally released on streaming platforms with my favorite Travis Scott / strip club anthem, Mamacita.
Yeah.
Fuck. Were you ever at a strip club when they played that song?
No.
It's fucking amazing. It's probably the best atmosphere possible.
For that, yeah.
That and Pick Up the Phone.
Oh, good.
But there is a bunch of other stuff that came out that I just don't remember. There's so much stuff. Yeah.
Ghost Dave. I sent this to you, Steven. Ghost Dave, 55 drums.
Yes, you sent me that.
Really, really good. There's also been some stellar singles to come out. There was a DJ Muggs that came out that was really good. What else was there? There was a Crime Apple with Apollo Brown. That was
fire.
I had to listen
so
to
good.
it.
That was so good. Listen, right now we review albums, but I just want to shout out someone. Listen, he didn't tell me to say this. He has no fucking idea who I am. But Pack of the Plug on YouTube. Honestly,
he's great.
Other than us shouting out underground artists, shutting out artists that we feel deserve.
Wait, hold on a second. The Abyss podcast.
The Abyss podcast, them too. Yeah, absolutely. We've shut them out before though, but they are phenomenal. They always comment, and
I get into music because of them.
It's all love. Pack of the Plug. To be perfectly honest, other than like Steven, the Abyss podcast, Pack of the Plug is my number one source in terms of actually knowing what's coming out in terms of underground, whether it's singles, whether it's album. I listen through most of it because of him. The work that he does is absolutely phenomenal. If ever you guys are on YouTube listening to this, go give him a shout out. Just subscribing. You guys are going to stay aware of what's going on, and it's good stuff. So give him a like, give him a follow as well. And give the Abyss podcast a follow and a like if ever you came from here and you don't know who they are. Let's go. Let's get to work.
Yes. Okay, boys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. Just an FYI that Oasis has gotten back together and they are going to be on a massive tour in 2025, and
their memes are so funny. The memes are so funny that I saw with that. Oh, they crack me up. Most overrated band all time. I hate that band to death.
Fuck, they're so good. Definitely, maybe.
So, his voice, bro. I can't believe people like his voice. Jesus, I can sing that.
No, you can't. But,
and now I want to see that happen.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Subscribe and like. We bring you nothing but the best in hip hop and wrestling, all combined in one, with the best French Canadian in the left-hand corner, with the best in the world in the bottom right, and with the voice of the voiceless, the Ayatollah of hip hop. If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
Like and subscribe.
You know what's crazy? On the new Zoom, I don't know how to cancel it. Okay, stop recording. Peace.
Peace.